Common tourist scams in London. I'm Chris, this is Yellow Productions. I do travel guides that are fun, informative, and entertaining, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you some common scams that often target tourists in London. This is part of my series on London. If you want to see more videos about London, like things to know and cheap eats, you'll find links at the end or in the description below. But let me tell you how important this is. Actually, a couple of these scams I was the target of. Actually, some of my stuff was stolen, my video camera and things like that. And so if you're watching this and you're like, Chris, this video's kind of shaky, the audio's not as good, well, that's because my main camera was actually stolen 2 days ago, and I recorded a similar version of this video, but with less of this personal experience of the thievery. And so I'm going to be talking about scams first, things that will rob you of your hard-earned money, and then I'm going to be talking about thievery and tell you my experience of having my stuff stolen here in London. Common tourist scam number one. This is something that will happen to you if you're using a foreign credit card or foreign debit card. It happened to us as soon as we got here to the airport, and I'll start with the ATM use case and then tell you about the point of sale use case. So the ATM use case for this currency conversion happens when you go to an ATM and you use your foreign card, you put your card in, you go to withdraw some money, then the ATM will kindly offer to you to withdraw it in your local currency instead of Great British pounds. So in my case, the ATM came up with a message and says, hey, instead of withdrawing 300 Great British pounds, the ATM could withdraw US dollars for you, and then you don't have to pay that foreign conversion fee that your bank will charge. And for the convenience of this, we're just going to charge you 12%. Now, most banks charge somewhere between 1 and 3% for foreign conversion. To give you an example, I pushed no and took out the money as Great British pounds. 300 Great British pounds in US dollars was 362 US dollars. Great British pounds, the offer for the ATM in US dollars was 410. So just by pushing yes and accepting this offer, I would have been scammed out of $50. So if you're at an ATM, make sure you do not select the currency conversion. Same thing happens at point of sale terminals. So if you're at Harrods or you're at Selfridges or high-end department stores, you will see these same things. You'll put your credit card in and it will come up and offer, hey, do you want to make this purchase in Great British pounds or your local currency? Here's a picture of actually what it looks like. And at Selfridges, when we told the staff, hey, we weren't interested in the currency conversion, we wanted Great British pounds, then the lady says, well, you know what? Selfridges really recommends that you take it out in your local currency. You know why they really recommend it? Because they make a lot of money on those currency conversions. And you might just be pushing yes because you think that's what you have to do to make the purchase. And actually on these point of sale terminals, to say no to the currency conversion, you generally have to put the red cancel button, which makes it seem like you're canceling your transaction. In fact, you're just saying no to this lousy offer. Okay, this one's called the newspaper distraction. This happens when you're seated outside at a restaurant or a cafe. Actually, it could happen inside. Anytime you're seated at a table and you've got your valuable items in front of you on the table like a cell phone. What happens is some friendly stranger comes up, they sit down at your table and they put their newspaper on top of the table and they start asking you, hey, how's it going? Where are you from? You kind of brush them off because you're not really interested in talking to them, or you are interested in talking to them, but when they leave, they pick up their newspaper and your stuff. So if anybody comes to your table and puts down a newspaper, you should be concerned and make sure you didn't have anything that was under it. Maybe say, hey, right? Or actually, better yet, don't put your phone on your table and let it sit there, because when people see valuables in London, unfortunately, it's a target for them and they would like to take it away from you. This one happens particularly on the tube with the rise in contactless card use to enter the tube, meaning you don't just have to enter with your Oyster card, but you can actually enter the tube or the London Underground or the subway with a contactless Visa card. So because people do that, then there are people who will come up alongside you, they'll watch you use your contactless card and put it in your pocket. They'll brush up against your side with a contactless card reader and skim your card, and then use your card to buy things. The contactless card limit is only 30 pounds, and so it's not a lot of money, but the way you can prevent that is using some RFID blocking sleeves, or get an Oyster card that doesn't have that much money on it, and don't carry your contactless cards with you. I have no contactless credit cards in my wallet. Beware of pedicabs and rickshaws, particularly around Covent Garden. Why? The rickshaws and the pedicabs, they're basically unregulated. They sit around waiting to prey on tourists, people who don't speak English very well. There is no set rate for a pedicab or rickshaw in London, so they can charge you as much as they want to. That 5-minute ride might end up costing you 50 Great British pounds. If you are going to take a pedicab, make sure you negotiate the price up front and be pretty firm about it. I mean, if I were you, I would just walk or take a taxi and avoid the pedicabs entirely. Beware of where you buy your Hopon, Hopoff bus tickets. The problem with this is a lot of Hopon, Hopoff bus tickets are sold by people on the street, but they might not actually be the people that work for the company. They might just be selling you tickets and their own tickets, and when you get on the bus, they're not the tickets for the bus. The bus driver goes, what the heck is this? So if you want to do a Hopon, Hopoff bus tour, the best place to buy them is an actual physical location, probably legit. Because if it's not, you can come back to them and be like, dude, what'd you sell me? Be careful of people who are too friendly and too helpful in train stations. A common scam is people helping you at a ticket machine or a parking machine where you have to use your credit card or money, and they might be helping themselves out with your wallet while they're distracting you on the machine. If they're not helping themselves to your wallet, they may be helping themselves to your ATM or your debit card, where you have to put in the machine, you put in your PIN card. They'll be watching as you put in your PIN number, and then they'll distract you somehow. And while they do that, they'll take your debit card and pocket it for themselves and tell you that, oh, well, the machine ain't your card. You should also beware of people on the street selling you theater tickets. There's a lot of theater shows in London, and particularly in the theater district, people approach you with discount tickets. They're half price, they're VIP tickets. Don't buy theater tickets from anybody on the street. Buy them from the TKTS booth, which is in Leicester Square, or from the actual theaters. Now, you might be saying, but Chris, what if I get a really good deal? You know what, really good deals are usually too good to be true. And sometimes the other ticket vendors, they might tell you things like, well, these are VIP tickets or they're special tickets, and it turns out they're really not that VIP. Beware of fake designer goods in street markets. London has a lot of street markets. Camden Market in particular is one of them. If you find designer goods that are really cheap, like that Louis Vuitton handbag that's 50% off, chances are it's not a real Louis Vuitton handbag. Also, something that happens in these street markets are fake auctions. You'll be walking by and a bunch of people will be bidding on something, but it's not really a real auction. They're just trying to get excitement up so that they hope you bid on it too, and you don't pay attention to the fact that it's actually not the real article, but it's a Louis Vuitton purse and it's 20 pounds. You want to get that, right? Well, you won't be scammed. Why? Because you've seen this video. Okay, so we're back in the hotel so you can hear me well, because this one is important. A common tourist scam, whether this is a scam or illegal, well, I mean, it's both, is theft. Pickpocketing, theft, and so we'll start with pickpockets. Pickpocketing is super prevalent in London. Pickpocketing wallets, pickpocketing things out of your bags. You really need to be careful to make sure you know where your things are and you don't have any things that say, rob me immediately. You can buy these anti-theft bags. I like bags from PackSafe. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. I've had these bags for like nearly 20 years and they've never been pickpocketed from the bag, though in this case my bag was stolen entirely, but we can talk about solutions about how to solve that. Another type of theft is moped theft. And so what happens here is you'll be standing around and you'll be using your cell phone. And when you're using your cell phone on the street, on the sidewalk, somebody will come up on a moped. It's often two people on the moped. One person's driving it, the second person's on the back. The second person is just there to grab your phone out of your hands as they continue to go by on the moped. And yes, you saw who did it, but you can't chase after them because they're already gone by the time you compose yourself. So if you are standing around and you're looking at your phone, you know, maybe stand by the wall, don't have your phone out. If you like to talk on your phone a lot, maybe use some wireless earbuds and keep your phones in your pocket. There have been signs across the city to warn people about moped thefts that have happened in that area. You can imagine if they do it for your phone, they do it for your bag as well. And so if you're walking, try to put your bag, if you have a shoulder bag, on the side that's away from the street, not towards the street. All right. night. So I talked about pickpockets, I talked about moped theft, and now what happened to me, they just stole my entire bag. So OC Girl, my wife and I, we were eating at this restaurant called Mother Mash. It's near, kind of between Piccadilly Circus and Oxford Circus. We were seated outside, but our table was right next to the building of the restaurant. It was about 7:45 in the evening. We had just sat down to eat. I had a big shopping bag of some stuff, and I had my camera bag, and I put it just to the left of my leg on the floor in eyesight so that when I'm looking at the table, I can see my bag just down here. And I'm like, well, it's between my left leg and the wall, so this is a pretty good place for my bag. Well, between the time I put my bag there and 5 minutes later, my bag was gone. I looked down. I went to actually take out Topher to take a picture of Topher and realized that Topher, my lovely traveling panda, was gone along with my camera and everything that was in the bag. They left the big shopping bag there because that was too big for them to get out, but my camera bag that I had on top of it, that was gone. Now, I mentioned it was in my eyesight. What happened? Well, at some point, the bag's right down here that I can see it. At some point, the waitress comes to take my order, and now I'm looking over here at the waitress who's taking my order. I guarantee that is when that bag disappeared. Didn't see it, didn't notice it, but as soon as I noticed it, there were some people who said, yeah, there was somebody behind you. He went that way, but we didn't notice that he took anything. There were people sitting at a table just to the next of us who were actually kind of like at a counter looking at us. They didn't see anything. I mean, it was one of those where I like to consider myself a pretty savvy traveler, and this was one where this person was good. Now, that doesn't mean it's okay. It really sucks, and I hate them for doing it. And so, what should I have done better, and what could you have done better? Well, I mentioned I carry this PacSafe, MetroSafe bag. What I did wrong was it wasn't chained down. When we went to the police station to file a police report about it, the taxi driver basically was like, yeah, anything in London now that's not chained down, it's basically gone. And the PacSafe bags, they're a shoulder bag, and it has a strap that's designed to detach so you can loop it around something and then reconnect it again. I should have looped that around the chair, and so that way if they went to take it, it wouldn't go because the shoulder strap would be connected to the chair. Other option, put your shoulder strap of your bag or your backpack like around your leg or the leg of the chair, or just I should have kept the bag on my lap, even though it's uncomfortable. I'm seated outside. If I had my arm looped through that shoulder strap, they would not have been able to take it the way they take, right? These criminals, they don't do it by force. And I know in the video that I put out earlier where I talked about it as it happened, I said I was robbed, and it wasn't robbery because it wasn't at gunpoint, and it wasn't at knife point. They don't want to be noticed. And so they're gone before I even noticed. And then when we called the police, what's there to do about it? Nothing. Oh, and a lot of people said, hey, Chris, you should have looked in the trash cans or the dumpsters because the crook might have thrown your bag in there. We actually spent about 30 or 45 minutes after the bag was stolen kind of combing a 3-block radius, just going further and further out, looking in the trash cans and the dumpsters, hoping that the bag was there. In our case, it wasn't, but there are many people that said they've been pickpocketed, many of you fellow explorers that said when your bag was stolen, you were able to find it in a nearby dumpster. Because I'll say, I can replace the camera, but unfortunately, our good friend Topher is not as replaceable as those electronic items. So when you come to London, don't let your guard down. Don't think, you know what? This place seems pretty safe. I don't have to pay the same amount of attention to my stuff as I might in Italy or Paris, because I look at those places and I know everybody's trying to rob me. But you know what? In London, everybody's trying to rob you here too. It's really unfortunate, but it is the case. So please learn from me and don't be a victim yourself. Now, if you are planning to come to London, you might enjoy watching some of my other videos. You can click right here for my London Things to Know video. You can click right here for the entire playlist of my entire London series, videos on cheap eats, Camden Market, and weird things to do in London. Well, I won't say goodbye because I'm going to see you in one of those videos.